Hey there all, it's Tom with a bit of an apology. This podcast is coming to you quite a bit after it was recorded, a couple weeks actually, which means it's a little bit dated. And in this podcast, we're going to talk about the two-parter, which is comprises, which I'm always confused about how that word is properly used. But anyway, the two-parter that is The Rebel Flesh and The Almost People. And at the time this was recorded, we hadn't yet seen A Good Man Goes to War, so we're a little bit behind the times, so to speak. And that's actually entirely my fault, which is kind of ironic given the discussion that occurs in the first minute or two of the podcast, but I'll let you listen to that for yourself, and I hope you enjoy this episode and return next week for our discussion of the mid-season or mid-series finale and the first part of Series 6 as a whole. Enjoy. I'm Tom Dickinson.
And I'm Louis Midas.
And this is The Cloister Room,
a podcast about Doctor Who and other things.
I think we owe an apology.
Do we?
To our listeners.
Yeah, we probably do.
You want to start, since it's your fault?
Dear listeners, I am very sorry. I am very, very... We are sorry together. But mostly me.
Well, yeah. You start. I'll jump in if it's necessary.
It's my fault. It's all my fault. We didn't do a podcast last week because I inconveniently decided to move, 2 states away, back into my parents' house. So terribly, terribly inconveniently.
It should be noted, for the record, that a week before that, I also moved, and that week there was a podcast. Just for the record, just should be noted.
It's all my fault. It's terribly, terribly all my fault. But you didn't leave the state though. To be fair,
I left a state of being. Anyhow, want to talk about Doctor Who?
Yeah, I do.
We have 2 episodes to cover.
We do.
It's quite fortuitous that the one episode we have missed thus far this series happened to be part 1 of a 2-parter, so we can sort of discuss the story as a whole, because I tend to feel after part 1 of a 2-parter that I don't want to commit to a judgment of the story until after I've seen both parts.
Right, yeah, because even if the first part's really great and it leaves you on like a spectacular cliffhanger, who knows how they're going to resolve that cliffhanger, and it might be terrible.
Right.
So,
Although I'm sure in the course of this podcast, we'll also discuss the cliffhanger of this episode.
That's true.
In a way that could very well be nullified next week.
Yeah.
But anyhow, let's offer opinions.
Okay.
Well, you want to start?
Sure. Overall, see, I kind of want to judge this as part of like the whole season, like for what, because obviously this 2-parter does. Do we want to talk about it in terms of the 2-parter, or do we want to like first discuss the first part and then discuss the second part?
I don't know. Whichever you feel most comfortable with.
I guess I kind of want to talk about the whole thing.
Sure.
Yeah, in one regard, I liked the story itself. It was kind of straightforward, but it was a lot of. It was. It wasn't. It was kind of like. I think had this 2-parter not included, the bits that sort of linked it to the rest of the season, I think it would have been a very straightforward kind of monster of the week thing. Actually, well, it did. I actually liked the Ganger Doctor. I liked that. Mm-hmm. I particularly like the scenes with where they're first interacting with each other, the real Doctor and the Ganger Doctor.
Yes.
And I thought that was kind of cool. How it was kind of like, well, which is the real Doctor, and kind of Amy's perspective on, well, obviously the Doctor who's here first is the real Doctor, and then this imposter who is basically the same thing. It was kind of it was kind of interesting to see that, because it was like, it emphasized kind of that the flesh were people too, sort of thing. And I liked that. But I mean, other than that, I don't think there was really anything, I don't know, it's tough to say, but I did like it overall.
I liked the first part a lot more than I liked the second part, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I enjoyed the, it is a straightforward story, but I thought it was a story that was well told, and the characters seemed reasonably interesting to begin with, and the whole device of multiplying everyone times 2 was an interesting way to look at those characters, I thought. And I thought visually it was just a really good episode. I liked the style of the direction. I liked the location. It's very atmospheric and creepy.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was really dramatic in an interesting way. I thought Rory was used really well, especially in the first part.
Yes.
And I thought Amy was used in what, in my opinion, I'm now firmly of the opinion that the only good use of Amy is when Amy is worried about Rory. and Amy was worried about Rory in the first part of the story, and in the second, but I mean, that contributed to my overall liking of the first part. And then I thought it all kind of fell apart for me in part 2, in terms of the way the story was resolved. But I do think I'm still sorting through how I feel about the overall arc implications of what happened at the end.
I thought it was very, it felt very Lost-esque, and I mean, obviously, it was kind of gonna be that way, because we were introduced to this eye patch lady, and in the second episode of this season, I think, is when we first saw her.
Right, very similarly to how we were introduced to an eye patch man in Lost.
That's true. But yeah, and it just... So I knew that, I mean, obviously we were going to get some sort of revelation about this eye patch lady eventually, and I was hoping it was going to happen soon, so it was kind of nice to get that. But, I mean, it was kind of one of those things where the resolution was kind of like, well, okay, I guess I'll buy that. I do think it was interesting how this story, which initially seemed sort of no consequence to the overall story arc, actually did introduce a thing that became relevant for the overall story arc.
Oh, well, I never thought that it was of no consequence, because at the very beginning you have the Doctor trying to drop Amy and Rory off somewhere else, saying he has something important he needs to do.
Oh, well, that's true.
And then when he gets to the... It's very clear that he has specifically gone to that place because he wants to learn more about the flesh. And so, like, Amy says, but I thought we came here by accident. And the Doctor just sort of brushes that off.
That's true.
And I was sort of trying to figure out... I thought the flesh had something to do with Amy's pregnancy, probably. Okay. But I was sort of thinking the other way around, like, maybe the baby that's inside of her is, like, it has been constructed out of flesh and is not an actual child conceived in the natural way. And I was I was thinking in those terms, and I honestly didn't see it coming that it would turn out that Amy was a Ganger.
I see. Huh. Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, it was there from the beginning. Had I been paying attention, I probably would have been like, oh, yeah.
Pay more attention, Lewis.
Yeah, I know. What's wrong with me? But, yeah. I mean, nonetheless, it seemed... I don't know. It turned out to be more relevant than I thought it would be. I guess I'll say that.
Yeah. And I think in a lot of ways the cliffhanger ending sort of like brushes the rest of the story aside in terms of importance.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that you're likely to take away from this episode as the most memorable thing about it.
Yeah. And that was certainly a huge thing. I mean, yeah. I do feel that it does kind of. I mean, on the one hand, it sort of deserves, that sort of, like, this is the big thing. Oh my god! But at the same time, yeah, it's kind of, yeah.
Well, I've only watched the episode once so far.
Me too.
And one of the issues I had with the ending is that we spend the entire episode sort of learning that gangers have consciousness and are people, and I think it seemed to me that they were even trying to imply that the gangers who are possessed or are controlled by the originals, they too are conscious, because you see like the pile of rotting gangers and like the rotting flesh. So when the Doctor dissolves the Amy ganger, he's basically murdering a conscious copy of Amy.
Right. Yeah, that did seem to fly in the face of everything the episode was trying to teach us, I guess. But I don't know. It's, yeah. But I mean, if they were gonna do, I don't think there was really a way around that, though. Because I mean, if you're gonna, they would have had to have, yeah. If you're gonna, it would certainly have taken away from. Yeah, I don't know. Like, you couldn't do that any other way, I don't think. Like, he had to destroy the ganger, because then it wouldn't. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been as much of an impact, I think. I don't know.
I'm kind of wondering why the Amy ganger wasn't disrupted in the way the other gangers were when the solar storm happened.
Well, the thing about that, I think or at least part of that would have been. Well, I'm probably thinking, I don't know. I thought the reason that the flesh became kind of independent wasn't necessarily because of the solar storm, but more specifically because there was a power surge. Because they collected solar energy as a means of their power source.
Oh, right, that makes sense. It would overload their harnesses, and Amy is attached to an entirely separate system. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's how I understood it. I could be completely wrong about that.
You could be, but no. I think that's right. That doesn't make sense now. I'm just sort of I'm still bugged by the whole idea that the episode would set up this entirely big, like, the episode is sort of built around this moral quandary, and then it just sort of violates it at the very end. That still bothers me.
Yeah, because the thing about with the eyes always saying why, that happens whether or not. That happens even when the flesh is being controlled by someone else, right? Because when they're destroying, that's what they say, I think, is that when they destroy the flesh, the last things are the eyes, and they say why. Yeah, so like, which implies that there's a consciousness there, whether or not you're controlling it, or whether or not it's being controlled by a harness.
Yeah, there might have been some kind of explanation as to why Amy's ganger would have been different and not been like that, but I might have missed it. I don't know, because I only watched the episode a single time.
Yeah, well, and I think it was mentioned that the flesh that you find at that monastery or pumping station or whatever the heck it was an early version.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I guess it's possible that Amy's flesh could be a newer version, if we want to go that route.
That would make some amount of sense.
I'm sure they can just make something up.
They always do. But I do have to say that, like, the cliffhanger did give me the appropriate levels of WTF that it was probably intended to.
Yeah, and it was. Yeah, it certainly seemed engineered that way, and with how they just sort of. Yeah, that was. And, it was one of those things that I was thinking about later, and I was trying to conceive when they would have. So I'm guessing that the silence were responsible for giving her a flesh thingy.
I don't know. I mean, you'd tend to think so. It could have happened at the point where she was kidnapped by the silence.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
But didn't she have her first experience of seeing Eye Patch Lady while she was exploring the creepy mansion?
Oh,
or
you're
creepy
right.
house or whatever.
Yeah, it would have had to have. Yes, it would have had to have been even further back.
Right. So, but there is the fact that between The Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon, there's 3 missing months that we don't see.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
So it could have happened sometime in there, which I would find kind of annoying, but...
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing with those jumps in time. They can just be like, yeah, it happened during that time. That's kind of annoying.
But if the silence were involved, then that would explain why she has no memory of having been taken captive or anything.
Yes.
So...
Yes.
That's as good a theory as any.
Why not? Well, because they would have had to have... Yeah, they would have had to have, like, captured her and imprisoned her and put her into that thing, and she would have had no memories of it. And I mean, she could have been unconscious that whole time, but... Or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the silence would be an easy explanation for why she has no memory of it.
I'd say so. And also she apparently has been kidnapped for long enough that she was able to carry a baby to term, which would presumably be 9 months.
Right, yeah.
And because she was never showing her pregnancy, like she's never been visibly pregnant, so...
Right, yes, so that would have had to have been... Because I guess we don't really know how much time has elapsed since the first episode.
Right.
So yeah, it's difficult to say what... Yeah, So it could be any time. It could just be any time.
Could be during Series 5.
Could have been, yeah.
I kind of doubt it, though.
Yeah, probably not.
Because of the whole rebooting the universe thing.
Yeah.
That would seem to play havoc with that,
pregnancy.
In my opinion. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, no. Do not... Yeah, that's the Surgeon General's warning, I think, is, don't drink alcohol, don't reboot the universe when you're pregnant.
And don't smoke.
And don't smoke, right. Exactly.
Right. Those are the 3 main things.
But yeah. Yeah, so it probably wouldn't have happened during Series 5, but it's pretty interesting.
One of the things I liked about the cliffhanger, though, is because it's sort of a cliffhanger where the WTF thing that's happening is that we're suddenly being given a lot more information, and we have a better idea of how everything fits together, because now we know that, at the very least, this Eye Patch Lady is some kind of villain who is holding Amy captive, and now, okay, so the Doctor is going to have to go after her. Whereas, like, if you look at the cliffhanger at the end of Day of the Moon, where the little girl regenerates, I still maintain that that's sort of just a non sequitur cliffhanger, where, I mean, just something nonsensical that we have no context to understand what's going on is happening.
Right.
Or we also don't know what that might mean, but whereas this, we have a very clear idea of what this means dramatically. Okay, now we have this objective to get Amy back, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it actually sort of, if you want to like think of these as in terms of like discrete mysteries, where we have like that they've been dropping clues to the whole season long. We have the Eye Patch Lady, which has appeared in almost every episode. We have the pregnancy thing where it keeps flipping back and forth between pregnant and not pregnant, or positive and negative, I should say. And then there's the thing with the Doctor dying in the first episode. We have 2 of those things are now sort of solved, or not solved, but we do have a more solid understanding of them, and they're actually related with Eye Patch Lady and the pregnancy thing. Those are 2 related things. We still don't know anything about the Doctor. We still know that the Doctor has died, and they haven't made any progress on, how they're going to prevent that or stop that or change that, whatever they're going to do. We still don't have anything really on that, although it it was brought up in this episode.
Yeah, she mentioned it. I was very glad that the Ganger Doctor, it didn't end up that the Ganger Doctor ends up being the doctor that dies, because I thought that would have been an incredible cheat.
Yeah, that would, yeah.
I was actively worried about that.
Yeah, because I was going back and I was thinking, like, all right, so if the Ganger Doctor has the original shoes, does that mean that if the 1100-year-old doctor had the original shoes in, The Impossible Astronaut, does that mean... yeah. But, yeah.
I haven't even gone back to look at the shoes.
Oh, but no, actually, no. They swapped the shoes, though.
Right, yeah.
So, okay, never mind. Panic over.
Also, in The Impossible Astronaut, the older version of Canton says, like, Amy wonders, it could be a clone or some kind of duplicate. And Canton says, no, I can save you all the speculation. That is certainly the real doctor, and he is certainly dead. And so I'm thinking... Well, I guess we should take that at face value, but how would Canton know? So at any point they could say, guess what? Canton was misinformed. It actually was the Ganger Doctor.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them.
Which would be a cheat.
Yeah. Just they've mentioned that, the doctor dying thing in numerous episodes. And so that's... I would like to find out more about that in this next episode.
The big mystery, in my opinion, is how all of these things fit together.
Yeah, true.
Like, and apparently the next episode is going to reveal who River Song is.
Ah, well, that's something we've been waiting for a long time.
Well, right, except, like, there's a sense in which I feel like we already know who River Song is. Like, she's a future romantic interest of the Doctor, in some sense.
Right.
And I mean, there's going to be some kind of revelation that is presumably going to have something to do with all of these things. Like, it's all supposed to fit together into one story. That all of these mysteries that don't seem to have much of anything to do with one another on the face of them.
And I'm certainly interested to sort of see how they all fit together. I just don't. And I mean, I almost want River Song to be more than what she'll probably be. And I feel like I'm going to be disappointed.
I think there's always a danger of that.
But I don't know. When River Song was first introduced in the Library two-parter, she seemed very mysterious and interesting, and then she's just kind of been around, I guess, since then, and I haven't found her, I guess, as interesting, or I've just kind of given up.
Well,
but I don't know.
I feel like there's no answer to who is River Song that's going to amaze me. I just feel that way. Like, if we find out, oh, I'm a Time Lord. I worked in a cafeteria on Gallifrey or something like that. Or like, I mean, like, who is River Song just seems like an empty question to me at this point.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll shock me.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean, yeah, it certainly seems that she is some kind of romantic interest to the Doctor, and that I don't feel like even if, I don't know, even if that were not the case, even if it turns out, no, she's actually not, I don't know how that would work, but I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't think there's any satisfying, I don't know, I can't conceive of a satisfying resolution to this, but I don't know. I'm not Stephen Moffat. Yeah.
Well, we'll find out soon.
But yes, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm being unnecessarily pessimistic, I think.
Well, then you have the chance to be surprised. Maybe you will be pleasantly surprised.
That's true.
Or maybe you'll just be like, I knew it. Knew it wasn't going to be good.
That too.
So, there's something to be said for unreasoning pessimism.
There certainly is. It kind of sucks that the season's going to end soon, though.
Yeah, I dislike having to wait until the fall to see the rest of this season.
Especially if there's going to be a massive game-changing cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Which is what they keep saying. Maybe I don't know. I don't want the game to change. I like the game
as it is.
Yeah. It's a good game.
It's worked. It's a nice balanced game. Why? Don't change it if it ain't broke. Or something.
Well,
I don't know.
We'll see. I think we've probably said all there is to say about this two-parter, actually.
I think so. Which is kind of surprising considering that we haven't been talking for that long.
Yeah, and we went a week without an episode. Maybe it just wasn't that remarkable. I enjoyed it though. It's one of the, I don't know, especially part one. I thought part one might actually have been my favorite episode of the season.
Really?
Yeah, including the doctor's wife.
Yeah. See, I think the doctor's wife is still my favorite. But definitely the first half of this two-parter, I agree, was very, very good, and probably my second favorite, if I have to play favorites, which I guess I do.
You do.
But no, I definitely enjoyed this two-parter, and I thought the scenes with the Doctor sort of conversing with himself were very amusing, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was another standout story for Matt Smith.
Yeah.
Just like pretty much every story is.
Yeah, I really still feel like I could keep watching Matt Smith for a very long time. I thought he might wear on me, but I still feel like I like him.
I'm sure it'll happen.
He'll wear me down.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm actually kind of looking forward to, it looks like in the next episode, I guess Rory's going to be the companion.
Really? Oh, well, that makes sense, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's Rory and the Doctor who are working together to save Amy. So, I don't know.
I like that idea.
Given my stated prejudices for Rory and against Amy, that appeals to me.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I like Rory. I want him to stick around. I hope he does.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope, like, the cliffhanger isn't Rory dies.
I don't think that would be a game changer.
That would be a very much game continuer.
Yes, precisely.
But, yeah, I think we're ready to wrap this up, actually.
I think so, too.
You want to tell the people how to contact us, Lewis?
Sure. Actually, okay, yeah. You've been listening to The Cloister Room, a podcast about
Doctor
Who.
I usually say that, don't I?
You do. I figured I thought I had to, because you were like,
Okay, go on.
Okay. Where was I? Oh, yes. You've been listening to The Cloister Room, a podcast about Doctor Who and other things. If you'd like to get into contact with us, you can email us. Our email address is thecloisterroom@gmail.com.
It certainly is.
We also have a website at which you can leave a comment, and that is thecloisterroom.com.
It certainly is.
And we have a Twitter, which is at thecloisterroom.
And I have a personal Twitter thingy called T. Dickinson.
And I have a personal Twitter thingy, and that's at Mila's Belly.
And that about covers it.
It does.
So come back next week where we'll be presumably discussing the finale, or the mid-series finale of Doctor Who, and probably nothing else. Until then, I will be Tom Dickinson.
And I will be Lewis Midas.
Goodbye.
See ya.